Back like we never left, 88. I'm here to talk about this article that I came across on BleacherReport.com, and they talked about NBA's number one options who would be better off as sidekicks. Now, this is something that I've thought about for a while, and I've had in my mind as far as like NBA players that are number one options on their squads, but they probably should be number twos or number threes. Now, people that came to mind before he was traded was someone like Dennis Schroeder. Honestly, Oladipo, who he's the number one option, but I think he'd be better suited as a number two. Because for you to be a number one option, there's a tier there that you have where it's like, okay, this guy's a number one option, like Giannis, Hat, like Anthony Davis, those guys. Even Jimmy Butler, I do not think he's a number one option. Kyrie Irving, I don't think he's a number one option. And Kyrie Irving is not ability-wise for him. I think this goes back to actually health. And I think his body cannot take the full brunt of 82 games or 72, how many ever he plays, while being the number one option and going full force every game. I think sometimes he needs a break. He needs to take a game off and not be the number one option because his body, as it's been shown, cannot take it. So again, ability-wise, Kyrie can definitely do it. But as far as injury-wise, he cannot. So stumbling across this article by Zach Buckley, you can follow him on Twitter, it showed that he was thinking the same things, but I'm sure he has different players in mind. We see John Wall and Kemba Walker here, so I would anticipate that those two players are being discussed. So further into the article, the first athlete mentioned is DeMar DeRozan. Now, DeMar DeRozan, he is currently on the San Antonio Spurs from the Toronto Raptors, and he will be the number one option. Now, for DeMar DeRozan, I would say that he averaged 27 points per game last season, and I don't think he is a number one option. Basically, because of how limited he is offensively. DeMar DeRozan, he has limitations as far as his shot is concerned, and I think that's something he definitely should improve because it needs some work. He has taken more threes than he did ever in his career last season. But when you look at DeMar, and I mean, even his temperament, it doesn't seem one that could get players going. Similar to KD, and KD kind of came to grips with it where he said that I'm not that type of leader. That's not me. I'm going to go in the gym. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to score. I'm going to lead that way, lead by example. I'm not a rah-rah guy. And sometimes the number one option, he has to be that forceful, dominant force if you don't have another person like a Draymond Green on your team that can do that. And Kevin Durant, he had Russell Westbrook, so he didn't have to do that. But Russell Westbrook, some people say that he's not even a number one. So for DeMar, I don't think he's a number one. So I definitely agree with that. He goes on to say that DeMar and his inside the arc style is too easy for elite defenses to game plan against. And we showed that in the playoffs, his shooting percentage dips to 41%. And he posted a minus 7.0 net rating during the latest round versus LeBron. So they just say, just cut off the three-point line and he'll be good. Blake Griffin is another one that they said is not a number one option. And Blake Griffin, I think the skill set wise, no, based on where the NBA is as far as like expanding the three-point line, he is not a number one option. Great. Blake Griffin, he has improved his jump shot for sure. But at the moment, Blake Griffin, he is, I think, close to a shell of himself. He is not dunking nearly as much as he used to, right? He takes his time a bit more, I think. But he's not as athletic, or he's still athletic, but he's not as dominant as he once was. And I think even when he was dominant, he needed someone to get the ball to him because one-on-one, he's not the best one-on-one player. He's improved for sure, but he's not the best one-on-one player. And so that's something he needed to work on. He has improved it, but athletically, or his athleticism is starting to wane and is showing in his game. What he says here is that he can function as a multifaceted offensive hub. He's a gifted passer for his size. But he's better at filling in the cracks than bearing the weight of the entire structure. He said he had to roll in Detroit, and that's largely due to a dearth of other realistic options. It said he really handled it in LA because he wasn't taking the ball out of Paul's hands. And while Griffin capably steered the Clippers through Paul's 18-game absence in 2013-2014, that was 4+ seasons and a slew of injuries ago. That's what I was saying with Blake Griffin, where he is not the same player where he was jumping out the gym, could dunk on anybody. If he was that same player athletically, I think so. Where he has his jump shot now, he's a good passer, but now that's not Blake. Next, you have Kevin Love. I don't think there's much to say here. Kevin Love, he is not a number one option. From what we see with Kevin Love, he operates better. He operates better as a complementary piece, right? We saw with the Timberwolves, he was the number one player, but he was never took him to the playoffs. He had good numbers, but based on how you do things like that, you would have great numbers, but your team is going to be bad. And I think what makes a great player is how you're able to adapt. Playing with LeBron, he wasn't able to adapt very well. He struggled mightily at times, but sometimes he played really well. So I think Kevin Love is definitely a secondary, a tertiary player on a team for sure, but he's not a number one option. He goes on to say that Love's lack of athleticism has hurt him as the association has shifted further out to the perimeter. He's retained some value as a spot-up sniper, but that role only works if someone else is spoon-feeding him shots. Deploy him as a pick-and-pop sidekick, and he can be an asset. Ask him to lead your offense in 2018, 2019, and he's sure to come up short, and I certainly agree with that. Next, we have Kemba Walker. And Kemba Walker, he's of course, point guard for the Charlotte Hornets. And Kemba Walker, I've always said he's a really good point guard. He's not a great point guard. He's definitely not a great point guard. He's a pretty good scorer, not a great scorer. So I think Kemba is pretty good at a lot of things, not great at anything. He's a great ball handler. I say that. And he goes on to say he's not quite elite in either category as far as like a high-level scorer and a distributor. He should probably be a Robin. He has yet to post a top 15 finish in scoring and topped out at 14th in assists. He isn't particularly efficient shooter, and he's below average on isolation. So that's my thing with Kemba Walker. He's pretty good at some things, but he's not great. So he'll be best served as like a complementary piece to LeBron or Giannis or someone like that, but Giannis already has Brogdon, who's a better shooter. It's like for Kemba Walker, I don't know why I'm saying his name like that, Walker, but Kemba Walker, I think he definitely he has a role in the league, but being a number one option is not it. Very good player, not necessarily a great player. 5, they have John Wall, and I'm torn on this because I think John Wall has the potential to be a player that's a number one option. But I think that John Wall, he is getting to a point where he's losing it a bit. When I say losing it, he just had 2 surgeries on his knees, right? Turning 28 in September, and that's his athletic prime. But it's not showing up in the stat sheet. It seems like he's regressing, but that could be, attributed to injuries. And the thing with Wall that worries me is that his shooting percentage it's down. It's definitely down, but then injuries, and he's turning the ball over at a higher rate. So for me and John Wall, I love Wall. I think he can be a number one option. Health is another thing. So like what I said with Kyrie Irving, where Kyrie Irving, ability-wise, he can be a number one option. Body-wise and injuries puts him to a number 2 option where he can be a complementary piece where it's not always on him every night. Thing here that's interesting is that Bradley Beal is also a number 2 option. You can't say, oh, John Wall should defer to Bradley Beal, because I don't think Bradley Beal's a number 1 himself. So in that instance, I think that they're in a special situation in which they're really stuck with these guys, because I don't think no one is going to give them John Wall's value. And I don't think they're ready to part with John Wall, where there's a window there for something special to happen. If Kelly Oubre keeps developing, they just got Dwight Howard, so there's something there if you can capitalize. Otto Porter, I think he's a good player, not a very good player. He's not a max player for sure. So it's a lot of questions there. We'll see what happens. But guys, it's something I wanted to talk about. Let me know what you think. Who you think are number 1 options that are really number 2s and number 3s? Leave your comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not for more content like this. And I will catch you guys later. Peace.